What's good, people? It's Spud here, and welcome to episode 35, I think this is, of Spud Ball. And just like we did in episode 1, which was over 3 years ago now, we're going to do one player each Premier League team should sign this summer. Now, obviously, there's going to be a couple of options for each team. Some players have been rumoured to go, some people are about to join, um, and others are just literally just random. Now, one of the ones I remember the most that I did a few years ago was Milos Kerkez to Everton. He ended up going to Bournemouth and then now plays for Liverpool. So, not many people had heard of him. So you never know, we might have a couple of interesting picks here. Um, this time though, compared to 3 years ago, I haven't wrote like an entire fact file about each player. I'll just obviously briefly mention why I've picked this player. And I might also mention a couple of other things that have happened with this club in the transfer window so far, because I'm recording this on the 1st of July. So, for example, Xhaka has officially joined Liverpool today, and um, stuff like that. But yeah, do like if you enjoy. Um, and let's get into it. So, starting off with Arsenal. Um, I am going to move the webcam because I just remembered that it's on the uh, it's on the wrong side. There we go. So Arsenal, we are going to go with Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa, who I think would cost around £100 million mark. Obviously, these are just complete estimates with the price, with some of the prices. So if I'm being disrespectful to the club that they're trying to buy them from, I do apologise. But obviously, Arsenal also like Guimaraes, who's obviously on the thumbnail. But I think Arsenal do need another forward as the priority. I think Trossard's going to get moved on, even though he's quite a clutch player for Arsenal. I do think he's going to move on, and Martinelli will be the backup, and then they're going. Or Martinelli might get sold as well, because obviously a while ago they were saying that they were going to try and sign Christian Solis from Club Brugge, who's obviously had a lot of goals and assists. But maybe Morgan Rogers is the player. The one obviously can play in the 10 as well, but would predominantly be Arsenal's left winger, but could play quite narrow. We'll have to see what happens with this one. I think it would be a good signing for Arsenal, but I do think that there's a different player who I will mention during this video who they also like, who I think would be a better signing for them, but I don't want them to sign him. You'll know what. You'll know who it is, really. Um, so yeah, that's Arsenal. Then we move on to Aston Villa, and I've gone for Ibrahim Mbaye from PSG. Obviously, he hasn't played that much for PSG this season because of the amount of quality players that are ahead of him, and obviously it looks like PSG are going to get Diamande and Akalucci. And I know obviously Ramos and Kangin Lee have left, but Mbaye was struggling with minutes anywhere. I think Aston Villa will come in for him. They do need better wingers. I do think that's Aston Villa's main weak point going into next season is the wingers. So I think Mbaye would be a good signing. Obviously, he's played a couple of games for Senegal at the World Cup. Did score against France as well. So I think that'd be a good move for him and for Aston Villa. Bournemouth's a bit of a difficult one. I've gone for a centre back to replace Senesi. Because I genuinely think Bournemouth won't make many signings this season. They'll make it so their squad depth's a bit stronger, and that's about it. I've gone for Charlie Cresswell from Toulouse. Obviously, he has always been linked with like Brighton or other clubs. Used to play at Leeds. I think about a fee of about 30 million would probably be enough, and I think Bournemouth might be interested in that. They're going to go for a centre half because obviously they've got James Hill, Diakite, and that young, I think he's Serbian lad. I can't remember his name. It's quite long. So they obviously need a fourth centre back, and I think Cresswell could be an option. Obviously, he's homegrown as well, which works for the homegrown quarter. Brentford is a bit of a difficult one. I've gone for Samu from Mallorca. Now I know apparently Red Bull Leipzig like him, especially because Mallorca's manager Dean Michaelis is now uh, the manager of. I think he was the Mallorca manager. Well, he's now the Leipzig manager, Dean Michaelis. So Samu might join them. Obviously, Portuguese international, has played for Portugal internationally. It was very good for Mallorca last season, him and Maruki. I think that if a Premier League team is interested, I think Brentford do need a little bit better midfield. They are also going for like Jadon Anthony, Zian Fleming as well, just to have better squad depth. But I think Sammy would be a starter and someone that they'd need. Brighton, obviously, they've bid for him twice. I think Luka Vuskovic is going to be their main signing and the signing they need to replace Jean-Paul Van Heck. But then again, they have just signed Pascal Struijk. They have gone quite heavy with the centre halves. I know they've obviously got European football and Lewis Dunk's getting old now. But maybe Vuskovic and Struijk is the way they want to go forward next season. But obviously they've got Boskagli, who hasn't really featured much, Coppola, who's already gone on loan. So it's an interesting one with Brighton, with the centre halves, what they do. But obviously the fact that they want Vuskovic and Vuskovic would like to go to Brighton would be a big move. He was obviously really good at Hamburg last season, so we'll have to see what happens there. Coventry, I've gone a bit boring, but I've gone Carl Rushworth because obviously he was their player of the year last season and they want to buy him back permanently for the season. So I've put Carl Rushworth from Brighton. 25 million probably would be enough. Obviously, the Premier League is a different kettle of fish. I get that. But I do think that it's a signing that Coventry need to make, especially because he knows how the team will play, knows the manager very well, of course. Yeah, but they obviously need to make quite a few signings if they're going to stay up. Chelsea, see, Chelsea have already. Originally, I was going to do Maxi Araujo, but the thing is, I was meant to record this video ages ago. So I was going to do Araujo, but it looks like they're signing Rayo Vallecano's left back instead. Never really heard of him. Obviously, Palestra's a great signing. But I've gone for a forward because I think Gittins and Garnacho aren't very good. And I don't really know what formation Xabi Alonso's going to play. But I've gone for Antonio Nusa from RB Leipzig. I mean, he's obviously not as good as Diamande, even though he did just own Diamande in the World Cup knockouts. Diamande was poor that game. Nusa scored a great goal. I do like Nusa, but he doesn't score that many goals and get that many assists. But I do think he could get a move in the summer. And I think that Chelsea could be one interested. He'd only cost about half what Diamande would cost as well. Um, I could have put him for Newcastle. I could have put him down for Liverpool potentially. There was a few teams I could have put Nusa down for, even Spurs. But I've put him down for Chelsea. We'll just have to see what happens. I realistically don't think this one will happen, but I didn't really know who else. I didn't really want to go for Granit Xhaka. They've obviously done most of their business. They've already made a few signings. Palace have gone for a bit of a manager lazy link here. I've gone Samson Baidu from RC Lon. Obviously was at Red Bull Salzburg at one point. Austrian centre half, about 25 I think. 30 million. I just think Palace, obviously being in Europa League, they're going to have better squad depth. They didn't have good squad depth under Glasner, and I don't know if that's Steve Parrish's to blame or what. But obviously, if Lacroix's leaving as well, because obviously Chelsea like Lacroix, that was another player I was thinking of. If like they already want Lacroix, I could have picked Lacroix, but again, I wanted to go for someone that was a different position to what they've been going for so far. Samson Baidu could be a good replacement. Obviously knows PSG well. Um, yeah, bit of a lazy one this. Everton, this one's very lazy because it's already here we go by Romano, but I put Hayden Hackney. Obviously, I've seen him play a couple of times and he's all right. Obviously, he was Championship Player of the Year. Obviously, it's a step up to the Premier League, but I think a team like Everton, even though I don't like them, is a decent team for him to develop in. And I mean, if you look at Dewsbury Hall, for example, he's playing really well in the Everton team. So I think Hayden Hackney will have a good season at Everton. I could have gone for maybe a striker or a left back, but Hackney's fine. Fulham, this one's very lazy. I was going to go for Thiago Pitarch, but um, I was just going to go for a Real Madrid player or a Spanish player. Obviously, if Arbeloa is appointed, which it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I think it will be him. Obviously, with Jimenez leaving, I thought, oh well, they're going to have to go for another striker, and obviously Gonzalo Garcia, yeah, he didn't start that many games under Arbeloa, but obviously had Mbappe against him, not Muniz. I think Gonzalo Garcia would like a move to he would get good game time, but I don't know if he'd like the move himself. I just thought about who's got more chance of game time. I think Garcia or Pitar could. I think Pitar could have a similar sale to like Nico Paz potentially, where Fulham, Real Madrid always have a buyback clause of him. But yeah, Hull. I've gone for Christinau Ulai from Trabzonspor. Obviously, he's played at the World Cup for Côte d'Ivoire, has been pretty good. Was a difficult one for Hull because I think they're going to have to make quite a few signings to stay up because obviously they had a transfer embargo last season to get promoted was remarkable in my opinion. And obviously their owner's Turkish, so a Turkish league player makes a bit of sense. He's a central midfielder. They're going to need fresh legs in mid. They're going to need a really good midfield to stay up. I think that's why Sunderland did well, and I think Leeds did all right as well. Anton Stack, Granit Xhaka, Noah Siddiqui. Yeah, Hull. I could have gone for any position, to be honest with you. Any position I could have went for Hull. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with this guy. If they sign him, I think it'd be a decent one. 20 million roughly. I don't know. I don't really know what Hull are going to do. I don't really know what Ipswich are going to do either. Which is why I've gone for a player nobody who watches this video will have ever heard of, and that's Yanis Begaroui. Am I thinking that Ipswich try and do a Sunderland in terms of signing players from less obscure teams? Yeah. So this guy plays in the Portuguese league for Estoril. You're probably thinking, wow. Striker, 20 goals in Liga Portugal last season. Yes, I know it's a Portuguese league. Pablo's just got relegated with West Ham, look good in there. Nunes look good there. It's the Portuguese league, but cheap striker doesn't even have to start for Ipswich. Could just be a squad option, but I think he would start for them. Obviously, they have been trying to sign Alexandro from Lille, who obviously when I watched Liverpool Lille at Anfield, he was really good, really really good. But again, I didn't just want to go for players that have already been linked. Everyone. Leeds, though, I've gone boring. This is such a good signing. He had to be put on there. Harry Wilson for free. Wow. Obviously, I see it as a bit of a sideways move for Harry Wilson. He probably thought he could get a better move. I mean, he obviously was linked with Benfica under Marco Silva as Fulham manager, but I don't necessarily think this is a bad move for Harry Wilson, but could Leeds get Europe? I just don't think so. But Leeds have made a few good free transfer signings in the last 12 months. Calvert-Lewin, Lucas Emecha was pretty good. Harry Wilson's obviously a decent one. They know what they're doing. Obviously, they're going to go for a goalkeeper. They're probably going to go for another centre half. Obviously, they like that Krejci from Wolves, but yeah, Harry Wilson, what a signing. So Liverpool was a difficult one. I could have went for Xhaka, who obviously joined in January, but has officially been announced today. Could have went for a right back. I could have went for a midfielder. Victor Munoz has already joined, which I'm excited about. But Liverpool need another winger. And even though PSG say he's not for sale, and this guy is absolutely phenomenal in my opinion. Obviously, I would have put Diamand there, but his preference is to join PSG. That's fine, whatever. They've won back-to-back Champions Leagues, I can get it. But he isn't going to start for them in the big games. Barcola has not extended his contract with PSG because of the fact he doesn't start in the big games. I'd love Bradley Barcola at Liverpool. I really would, and that's why I've put him here. Do I think it'll happen? No. I think Liverpool will sign another forward. To be honest with you, my rogue shout is Yilmaz from Galatasaray, but I don't think that'll happen. I've put Barcola, obviously he's predominantly a left winger, but he can play on the right, he can play central. Where would I play him at Liverpool? Probably on the left, and then you could probably play Munoz on the right, or Engamoa on the right. But you'd have, or you play Barcola on the right. Ultimately, you'd have Barcola, you'd have Gakpo, Isak that's a striker, Ekitike is out injured, so we won't include him. Gakpo, who can play on the left and striker. Barcola, Munoz, and Rio can all play on the left. On the right, Munoz predominantly can play on the right. Even Frimpong could play on the right, even though I wouldn't want to see that happen. Barcola can play on the right. Rio has played on the right a couple of times, especially for England, in that game he came on for his debut. But Barcola would be a massive statement signing. But then again, look at the statement signings Liverpool have made. Have they worked out? No. Sometimes the big money names don't work out. So it's a difficult one. But I'm going to put Barcola. I didn't really want to put Yilmaz, or I don't really know which midfielder I want for Liverpool to sign. I think it would still be Sangare still. Obviously, that building Iraola video, it's got over 100 views, by the way, so thank you very much. Obviously, that video, I picked Sangare and Kamara, but Kamara was only if we sold Curtis Jones. I think Curtis Jones might stay now, which is really good news. So that's why I think Sangare is the one I want. I mean, I want Alex Scott, but Liverpool are not spending £80 million on Alex Scott. Which actually takes me not to the next team, but the team after, where we talk about the midfielders, the transfer, the market for midfielders. We didn't talk about this team. This signing has kind of messed up the Premier League midfielder market, because Elliot Anderson is going to join Man City for 116 million. My first thoughts on it, it's very, very overpriced. I think he's a good midfielder, but he's nothing special. Um, he had a good season at Nottingham Forest, but Nottingham Forest finished what, like 16th. Um, yeah, I personally don't think he's worth more than I don't think he's worth more than 70 in this market. So I think it is quite an overpay, but Man City wanted him. You know, I think he'll do okay for Man City. I think he'll be good. I don't think he's gonna take them from here to here. No, he's not that type of player. But obviously, the amount of like ball recoveries that this guy makes is absolutely phenomenal. Like, I do look at his stats and I see why Man City are paying such a premium on him. But if you look at the midfielder market, you've got Mateus Fernandes, who's just gone for 85 million after getting relegated. 116 for Anderson. Bournemouth on 80 for Alex Scott. Adam Wharton isn't getting linked to any team now because again he'd cost about 100 million. Teams are going to start shopping for midfielders outside of the Premier League. But then again, obviously you've got the homegrown players here: Anderson, Wharton, Scott. Get that. But teams are going to look into other leagues, try and bring like the big six clubs are overpaying for these midfielders because obviously teams know they've got more money. So we're going to talk about Man United now because obviously they did get rejected for Fernandes because Spurs paid more money. Fernandes never said, I only want Man United. Mateus Fernandes, if I'd recorded this a couple of days ago, Mateus Fernandes would have been the Man United one here. They're getting linked with Alex Scott as well, but I'm not putting him in. Because obviously Man United were heckling over the fee for ages here. They've made a mistake. They haven't got Fernandes. Do I think Mateus Fernandes is good? Yes. Do I think he's worth 85 million? No. I think he's not as good as Elliot Anderson, but there's not a 30 million pound difference in my opinion. If Elliot Anderson should be 70 million, I think Mateus Fernandes should be 50. That's my opinion on the fees. Like I think both teams have overpaid a bit, but that's just the market. It's not my money. It's not the fans' money. It's just the market. You can't do much about it. Um, yeah, Kamara. Obviously, I put him for Liverpool. Brighton like him. I think he'll be one that will definitely get a move to the Premier League. And I just think Man United, they have three midfielders to buy probably now, especially with Agate getting injured for most of the season now. Edson's coming in. Not a bad signing. Not a great one really. Kamara would be a good one. And then they'll probably bring someone else in. But I don't know if they will go for Kamara, but obviously has that Champions League football to interest them. Yeah, Man United signings are predominantly going to be midfielders. I think Rashford might stay as well now. So I do think Man United will only sign three midfielders, and that'll genuinely be for their transfer, like for their for their main first team. But I could be wrong though. Newcastle obviously was going to do Noosa, but changed my mind. Obviously they got rejected by Munoz. I've actually gone for Shelderlop from Benfica. Obviously he's the backup to Noosa for the Norway national team. A bit of a football manager got back in the day. I think Newcastle will need to replace Anthony Gordon, and I think Shelderlop will be the guy they go for in the end. I think they'll make a few signings. Obviously, if they lose Gumaraj and Tonali, they're going to have to sign some midfielders. Lamine Camara would be a good option. Um, Newcastle will be making a few signings this summer. But for now, because Gumaraj and Tonali could both stay, I've gone for the left winger because obviously that's the replacement they need for Gordon, and I've gone for Shelderlop. I had an okay season at Benfica. He's still a youngster, so He's got a lot of development, and Eddie Howe is known for making players better. He made Isak better. He made Gordon better. Um, he is known for it. I mean, Osela's playing okay at the moment as well. So yeah. Nottingham Forest, I've gone for Lucas Bergvall from Spurs. Obviously, Bergvall wants out. He wants a new challenge. Would be an Elliot Anderson replace. I think they'll sign two midfielders, like with the Elliot Anderson money. Obviously they like Curtis Jones, but I want Curtis Jones to stay, so I've gone for Lucas Bergvall. I've gone about 45 million. Obviously, Spurs will know Nottingham Forest have a bit of cash, from the Elliot Anderson move because it's no add-ons. It's 116 million fixed fee. And I think Spurs will want to recoup some money as well because obviously they've going to be getting Mateus Fernandes. So yeah, I think Bergvall, it's not a bad move for him, but he'd be hoping that Nottingham Forest can at least try and get back into the European places next season, which I personally don't think they will be doing that. I think they need to sign another striker. Uh, some of their other positions are all right though, and as long as they can keep hold of Gibbs White and Nico Williams, I think they'll do okay next season. Two more. We've gone Sunderland. I've gone for Bazumana Toure, who obviously I mentioned again on the Liverpool one, but I watched him against Ecuador at the World Cup and I'm not impressed. I don't think he's good enough to play for Liverpool. But Sunderland obviously offer European football as well as Hoffenheim, of course. I do think Sunderland's problem is their wingers, and obviously Toure is very fast. He offers a lot, but he still lacks a bit in the final third. Obviously, he did get, I think, 5 goals, 9 assists in the Bundesliga last season, which isn't bad. It cost about £35 million. Hoffenheim have said about €40 million would be enough. So we'll just have to see. And then to finish it off, I've gone for Sandro Tonali from Newcastle for Tottenham. Obviously, I didn't want to go with just Mateus Fernandes, who's obviously here we go at 85 million fixed fee, crazy money. In my opinion, Tonali is better than Mateus Fernandes. I think Tonali is better than Elliot Anderson, but he'd cost about £25 million less in my opinion. Maybe a little, maybe Newcastle 195 to 100. But I think if they get Tonali and Fernandes as a midfield duo at Spurs, they're going to be good next season. Senesi, Van Heck, Robertson, Savinho potentially. My only issue for Tottenham is still that the striker is going to be Solanke or Richarlison or Tell. Not good enough. But then again, that Solanke might play better with better players around him. If they get 50 million for Vuskovic or whatever, if they could recoup like 120 million in sales. I think Spurs are spending 300 million this window. They've already spent 135. Tonali would cost another 19, Savinho or 60. That's nearly 300 million. Quite a lot. But they're obviously going to back De Zerbi. With no European football for Tottenham next season, I think they could have a similar season to Man United this season where get they might not play like absolutely breathtaking football and they might struggle in some games, but they might grind results and potentially get in the Champions League. I haven't done any Premier League predictions or thought of any yet, but Spurs are going to be high up on my list. Now, I know I put them third a couple of seasons ago and they finished 17th. Yeah, that is the worst prediction I've ever done in my life. I happily put my hands up, but nobody saw it coming when they finished fifth the season before. Anyway, that is the end of this. Um, Let me know down below who you think each Premier League team should sign. Let me know if you agree with any of my choices or if some of them are just absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Make sure to like if you enjoy. Bye for now.